If you're a wrestling fan of a certain age, you will most certainly remember Goldust. I think most fans would even remember Goldust fondly, but due to Dustin never winning the world title in WWE and the history that Vince McMahon had with Dustin's father, it would be easy to think that the Goldust character was more of a rib than an honest attempt for success.
It was never a rib. Man, I thought that was one of the greatest gimmicks in the business of pro wrestling. I used to travel with Dustin late 95, early 96. When Goldust character was running hot, you know, I was jerking the curtain. I was either the first match or just in the first half of the card. Dustin was in the main events with Shawn Michaels, putting on some of the best matches I'd ever seen. And Dustin had an insane amount of shoot heat, and he was over. There's no way that gimmick was ever designed as a rib, and there's nobody that could have played that gimmick as well as Dustin did.
Agreed.
Way back in the day, in my WCW days, and I met Dustin when I was coming up in USWA. Although Dustin is younger than I am, he got into business before I did, so he had about a 1.5 year, 2-year jump start on me, and we finally started wrestling when I was down in USWA, and then we started working in WCW on a real frequent basis, and man, every time I hooked up with that guy, we went down there to tear the house down. We had great chemistry together, and he had supreme fire, and he was awesome as a heel when he was getting heat. Dustin was probably, I'd say, a better worker than his father on a technical level, and his ability to do things. Dusty Rhodes, the legend, speaks for itself. There was word on the street that the polka dots were a rib. I don't know that for a fact, but, you know, or what Vince was thinking. But if anybody could get polka dots over, it was Dusty Rhodes, and he did. Dusty Rhodes is one of the most charismatic entertainers and wrestlers, and one of my favorite professional wrestlers in the history of the business.
Absolutely.
And I grew up watching the man. If the polka dots were a rib, he damn sure got him over. But I don't believe the Goldust thing was a rib.
Me and my father had a falling out, and we weren't speaking or seeing each other or anything for about 5 years. So it was a very difficult time. I'm trying to find myself. What am I going to do with my career here? You know, I had Dad over there, WCW. He's no longer there. What am I going to do with myself now, you know? And I've come to realize that I could not fit in his shoes. I could not, I'm following to the best of my ability in his footsteps, but I was always trying to fit in his shoes and couldn't do it. So I realized I needed to try to do something else. The phone rang. It's Vince McMahon. Dustin. Bruce Pritchard's on the other line, just the three of us. Yes, sir? It's Vince McMahon. I have this idea that I want to run by you. It's this Goldust character, and, you know, he's very flamboyant. So I started thinking, okay, he's saying flamboyant. I started thinking Adrian Street, Adrian Adonis style, and I'm like, okay, you know, and he continues on, but he keeps talking and saying this word androgynous. And I'm like, what the fuck is androgynous? But he keeps talking about it, I'm just saying, yes, sir, yes, sir. Well, we'll get you up here next week or something, and we'll go over all the details and stuff like that. I'm saying, okay, I can't wait. I can't wait to do it, man. I finally get to do something on my own. I hung up the phone, and I went immediately to the fucking dictionary, and I looked up what androgynous was. This is a shoot story, man, and I'm just like, what the fuck did I just sign up for? I mean, what in the fuck? They've got the suit made up already for me. They have the robe, the wig, all the stuff, all the look that they want. I painted my face in the mirror. I walk into the boardroom. They're all sitting around there, all the big wigs, you know, Vince and the music guy and all the production staff. And Vince is, oh, goddamn, that looks really good, you know. And I'm like, oh, thank you. I felt like a fucking weirdo, you know. I'm just like, shit. And I look over in the corner, and Pat Patterson's sitting there in the corner, and he's looking at me like, oh, yeah, my boy. And this is before I knew Pat was, you know, gay, so I was like, oh, yeah, you like it? After everybody left the office, he said, you're going to get a lot of flack for this. Some of the boys aren't going to like it. You know, some of the fans are going to hate it. You're going to get a lot of grief for this. And if you have any problems, I want you to call me because I'm going full on with this. I went, yes, sir, I sure will. And I did have problems. I had a lot of problems. I had many conversations with Vince in the middle of the night driving to towns. But the first 6 months, it was really difficult because I couldn't figure out the character. I didn't want to play a gay character. So I was kind of sticking away from the androgynous part. And plus, I was learning how to be a heel. I'd never been a heel. I'd been a babyface in WCW. So it was difficult. And I would go out there with the likes of Bob Holly and Duke the Dumpster Droese and trying to learn how to be a heel and do this character. I wasn't getting the reaction that I needed and wanted.
Here Pat comes and says, hey, Sabio, Dustin said that you know how to do something with these characters. Well, I guess yes. Do it. Let me show me. All that, the gimmick where he's like touching people, that was my idea, to get the character on something, you know, and do the kiss. And they don't want to plug like he's a drag queen or he's a gay person, nothing like that. But it's him. That's the person that you think whatever you want to think. But the character's going to work. Tough guy, he's a wrestler, but he has his manners and he likes to touch the face or what, I don't know what the heck. So we come up with a couple of things and what's good.
I've been telling people on this channel to subscribe and they won't.
Yes.
What can we do about that? Can you help me out? Maybe if you tell them to subscribe, they'll do it.
Threaten them. I'll threaten them
If
for
you
you.
do that, that'd be great.
Yeah. You don't have to do it till you're cursed.
And I tell you what, Mr. Dustin was the hottest heel in the world.
Yep.
He had so much heat, and they were dumping a lot of gasoline on him and keeping him hot. And then all of a sudden, there was a little bit of backlash. Well, there was a lot of backlash, and man, they just chopped the legs off that gimmick, and just, I mean, it totally spun Dustin's career because, man, we would go to the buildings, and I'd be working in the mid-card. I was still on my way up, and Dustin was working in the mains, you know, with Shawn Michaels or anybody else, and just getting a hell of a response. And, of course, Dustin's a badass worker, and it was a great gimmick. But, well, man, once the company decides, hey, not so much anymore,
that's it.
You know, it ain't your ball game. You're just kind of playing ball with them.
Yep.
The promotion's everything.
Yep.
It can be a real pain in the ass.
Standards, was it? I know that standards and practices ixnayed the 7 gimmick.
Right.
Didn't they tone the Goldust gimmick down too because of
the WWE, because it was really it was sponsors and advertisers, bro.
Gotcha.
Because they didn't get it, and you know, they didn't like it, and at that time it was costing the WWE money, so WWE really pulled the plug on it. No doubt in my mind, bro. He could have went to the absolute top, and when he got there, bro, no doubt in my mind he would have been overused as a babyface.
Interesting.
No doubt in my mind, bro. No doubt in my mind, bro. That's the best. Dustin is the best wrestler to portray a character that was so opposite from him out of everybody I worked with. He was the one that was able to pull that off to an unbelievable level out of anybody I ever worked with. You know, Goldust was pre-Attitude Era. So, like, at that time with Goldust, losing a big sponsor was a big deal. I feel sorry for Dustin because he really, really, really got screwed. Bro, what started happening was, bro, you know, it's funny when you got to understand, Vince brought me in on the Goldust character very early. Yeah. And all Vince could really say about the Goldust character was like, Vince had 2 things. I swear to God. He had like Goldust was old Hollywood, whatever that means. And then Vince for some reason loved doing that. So now he's like, okay, Vince, I want you to work with Dustin. I swear to God, those are the 2 things that he gives me. He gives me old Hollywood and bro, there was never anything brought up about Goldust's sexual preferences, playing on the homophobe. That was never brought up. Okay. Now Dustin adds to it the robe, the cape, the lighting, the wig, and the way he delivered his promos, and all of a sudden, he's homosexual, he's homoerotic, he's, playing on the homophobic feelings. It was none of that. Like, none of that was ever discussed, bro. Like, in other words, I used to write every single one of Dustin's promos, and I would take a movie line. And Owen would kind of just, Dustin would take that movie line and just turn it around in a very creepy, sexual,
provocative.
Yeah, but he was like nothing. He was just like kind of doing that to freak you out.
Yeah.
But bro, what happened was USA Network, the lines lit up after every show.
Oh wow.
Then the sponsors started jumping in. We can't have a character like this. And I was like what? A character like what? We've never, ever done that, man. He's just trying to get in the head of people and creep people out. So next thing I know, man, he's hot. Bro, Goldust could have been the hottest heel, top 5 in the history of the WWE.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
no
absolutely.
doubt about it. And bro, one day Vince calls me in and is like, it's over. It's done. I mean, that there was no, because it was affecting business.
Yeah.
And bro, what do you do? That guy, we go from that guy to Dustin Rhodes. Like, what do you possibly do?
Yeah.
Well, like I guess we tried, or I tried. I'll take 1,000,000% of the heat for that. I tried to stay as close to the bizarre Goldust as I could, but bro, nothing was gonna compare to nothing. And it sucked, bro. It sucked, man, and it was horrible. And I felt so freaking bad for Dustin, man. But that was business, bro. It was USA. It was sponsors. We started getting a lot of calls, and they just cut it loose, man. That was it.
And the pressure is on the company. So during the show, Vince actually reads what sounds like a prepared statement from a lawyer, where he says that Goldust doesn't represent the gay community and the subject matter is harassment. And the result is Razor beats the shit out of Goldust, beats him all up and down the hallway, hitting him with trash cans. Goldust hits a low blow, and as he's trying to leave, Razor attacks him again. Now they're fighting outside in the snow. I mean, we're taking some chances here, but we're going for it. And now we're here at the Rumble, and Meltzer said, given the buildup, Goldust was probable to win the Intercontinental as well. The main obstacle in his path not being how disappointing the gimmick has gotten over, but the opposition to both the gimmick and to him getting the title from the Clique, which wanted one of its own, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, to be the one Razor Ramon dropped the strap to.
Yeah, they were really pushing the crap out of him. So, but they had no choice. He's a hell of a worker. He's a hell of a hand. And even though he might be playing politics and dating Stephanie and stuff like that, it didn't matter. I mean, he had the talent, and he did a good job of what he had. A lot of guys don't play politics. A lot of guys don't do that and kiss ass. I'm not one of those guys, and that could have been my downfall and might not have been. But I'm one of those nice heart and soul guys that just can get along in the business with what I can do, with my talent. I consider myself one of the top 10 in the business, the best in the business, as far as going out there psychologically and getting in the ring and telling a story and making a match and making those people go from here to standing up, cheering a crowd, or crying, Well, at the beginning, Vince gave me Goldust and he gave me the reins, and the envelope was wide the fuck open. I mean, we went with it, and that's when he had the Clique there, and the Clique was politics, and they were bringing down everybody that wasn't part of the Clique. But I wasn't part of the Clique, but Vince was pushing me, so I had no worries. And I could see it happening to certain people, but Vince still was going with me until I got Goldust over. And I owe a big part of that to Savio Vega, getting Goldust over as the #1 hated heel, And then, Scott Hall, I love Scott Hall. He didn't want to do his stuff with me. for certain reasons. And, you know, we had conversations and talks, and then we came to an agreement. We were fine after that. And we would go on with that, and Goldust would get so high that the gay and rights activists would call in, or moms of children would call in and say, hey, we're not going to let our children watch this, you know, crap again. And Vince would let it go for a couple of weeks because ratings would jump up higher, even though they said that, right? Even though the gay and rights activists are writing in and all this and that. And then when it got to a certain point, then he would pull the envelope down just a little bit and say, we need to close it down just a little bit. I said, okay, that's fine. And then he would give me the okay to step it up a notch again. You know, we had to go back and forth. We had to play pitter-patter a little bit. And then towards the end of that, it just kind of, you know, flattened Goldust, but we made a good run with it.
Dustin would pretty much remain in the Goldust character all through his first run in the WWF from 1995 to 1999. Toward the end, he began mimicking celebrities and fellow wrestlers with characters such as China Dust, Dust Love Dust, Dusty Dust, Hunter Dust, Flash Dust, Marilyn Manson Dust, Sable Dust, and Vader Dust. But the momentum had clearly left the character, and the WWF had clearly run out of ideas, so out of desperation to keep the character relevant, Dustin made a legitimate push to management to get breast implants as part of the gimmick before being talked out of it by McMahon, who in no way wanted him to do it.
Yeah, but I had to put 110% in it, and there was a lot of tough things that we did that I was scared to do, didn't want to touch on these issues that were very important to people later on down the road. They're all, you know, they'll DM me or something saying, you really helped me come out, or whatever it is. So, you know, you hear that a bunch of times from fans. It's like, wow, I really had an impact back then. But that was tough for me to step out of that comfort zone. But when you do that, and I've learned to realize, when you step out of your comfort zone in your little circle, right? And everything's very comfortable in your little circle, but you step outside of that and you're trying something brand new that might frighten you. That's where the magic happens. Sabio wanted me to, he's the one that pushed me to step outside of the circle, to try something. And I kept telling him no, no, no. And it happened in the garden. And I remember doing it for the first time, just some weird, sick shit, right? And rolled out of the ring because he chased me. And I was just like, and they responded in like a way that I had not had happen yet in the 6-7 months that I'd been there. And I'd been trying new things and trying to throw all kind of shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. And just that was the thing that stuck. And they came unglued, and they screamed every kind of profanity, all of it, towards me. And it was scary. And I'm sitting there next to the rail with a predominantly, you know, Puerto Rican area in New York City. It's like, and Sabio Vega's Puerto Rican. And I'm just like, what the fuck did I just do? And I look at Sabio in the ring, and he's laughing. And I'm like, damn, man, he's going to try to get me killed. But from that point on, it was like Goldust was truly born.
Dustin would return to WCW after his run in the WWF, but his issues with management were far from over.
Wait is over, fans. Kill the music now. Goldust sucked. Goldust nearly ruined my wrestling career. They've dressed me up like Uncle Fester.
It was my creation. This was another thing that I wanted to do because I wasn't a WWE anymore, and Eric Bischoff had hired me back and paid me handsomely for letting me go the first time. And I wanted something different and new. So has anybody seen the movie Dark City? White face, they were just creepy. They would get into your head type of people. And this is what I wanted to do with the 7 characters. So I thought of these vignettes with this little kid, like I was in control of this little kid. And I would float outside his window, and his eyes would turn black. And it was a little creepy and a little much for TNT or TBS. You know, they didn't really too much care for it. I thought it was going great. I mean, we practiced the thing, me and Cody, when Cody was still young. And I would be outside our dad's house, you know, and painted face, and he would be videotaping and just get a look of it to see what it would look like. And it looked really cool to me. It didn't look as cool when I took off the hat like I did when I just busted the character's balls at the end. But Vince Russo had just come in. I have to give him some credit for way back in the early Goldust days. He wrote all of my movie sick, twisted promo. He was very sick. So he comes in. He's like, Dustin, I got word from, and this is completely up to you, Dustin, but I got word from TBS that they didn't really like the kids' eyes, you know, blacking out and all this. They thought it was too satanic for the channel and shit like that. And I'm like, oh, and to me, I'm thinking, Vince Russo's just trying to with me. He just come in. I hated him at that point. I did not like him at all. So I decided to go ahead and say, okay, fine. Well, this entrance that we planned was $25,000 each time I went floated to the ring. So it was very, very not cost effective. And during practice, I've made the decision to go out there because Vince said, hey, man, just go cut a promo and kill this character off and just shoot straight from the heart. So I did. But we're practicing, and the jacket that I had on, the big trench coat, was 70 pounds, man. It was heavy. And the cables couldn't hold me, so we were like halfway down during practice, and one of them snapped. And it's scary, man, because I was up there, you know, floating to the ring. But it's one of those, like, knee-jerk reactions. Makes you like, oh, Jesus Christ, but I'm still hanging by one, so I'm okay. So they fix it. The night gets there, perfect entrance, man. I made history. I floated to the ring on this $25,000 budget here. They lifted me up inside the ring and set me down. They shut the lights off. I unhook. Boom. We're off to the races. It worked perfectly. I grabbed the mic and I just let the character have it, and every character that I've ever had, and put WCW or WWE down, the Goldust character, and WCW for firing my father and this and that. And I pretty much thought about what kind of things am I going to talk about? And these were the things. And it came off as a shoot to everybody. So when everybody asks me, because it was a shoot, it was definitely a shoot. I was pissed off in a lot of ways. And I shot straight from the heart, and I cussed a little bit too. And you weren't supposed to do that back then on TV, and I did.
Dustin would return to the WWE in 2001 and would also return to the Goldust character.
It's Goldust from WWE, and I guess Howard Stern wanted me on his show, so that's why I'm here. You know. Yeah.
Why do you think Howard wants you on the show?
I have no idea. I guess there's I don't know.
I'm sorry. Have you been told, like, from the people you work with, that Howard's interested in you?
I've heard that, you know, in the last couple of weeks, but I don't know why. Well, you know, why he wants me on the show. I mean, there's look around these walls here. There's a lot of goofy ass people. You know, shit.
So you think you'll fit right in?
Yeah.
All right, you a fan of Howard's?
Yeah.
What do you like about him?
You know, he's real. He tells it like it is.
All right, so are you gonna like pull any?
Choo-choo!
But who electrocuted you? How did this happen?
Well, Randy Orton and this big guy, I knew up-and-coming guy named Batista. God dang! You know, there was an electrical panel there. It wasn't supposed to happen like it did, but it did. You know, and I got electrocuted and was out. Yeah, out, unconscious.
No, he's just pretending he has Tourette's, and he makes money on other people's misfortunes.
Shut up.
I had no idea that Howard Stern was a big fan of my gimmick. You know, I was invited to go on a show and they told me, and we went, and the guy in the back of Howard Stern that sits behind him, not Arnie. Well, I'm trying to do my gimmick right there, you know, with Howard, and the other guy in the back's like, doing it too. and wasn't doing a good job of it, and Howard's getting on to him, and I'm trying to do this gimmick, and Howard's asked me if I take medication for it, and I just made up a name. I said triziptocane. That was my medication I was taking for Tourette's. I made up that name, triziptocane. And it was just and from what I understand, they still play the Howard Stern deals, with me on it today. They still play it, and that is a big that I'm honored, man. That's cool, to be on his show and to do that and have fun, and for him to still be playing my stuff it means a lot. I always wanted to do Saturday Night Live, I did Conan O'Brien. I always wanted to do David Letterman, but Conan O'Brien was cool too. I mean, I did a bunch of things. I never did Regis and Kathy and Regis or whatever the show was, Regis Phil, but I did a few, and they were fun, and
It was like the first Goldust. They yanked something from me that was working. They yanked this from me too. Booker T. I know and I understand now, looking back on it, that they were taking him in a different direction with the world title picture. But back then I did not, and it pissed me off. It made me very sad, like nobody gave a shit about all the work that I've done and all the hard work that I put into getting this character over. It's because I've never been given that shot to be in the world title picture. I've never won the world championship, and it sucked. So of course it hits me hard, and I turn to drugs and alcohol, man, and it hits really hard. That's the only way that I saw that I could cope with things, and it just got out of control and went downhill from there, while Booker and everybody else and the company must go on. I don't talk about Black Rain so much is because it was a very, very dark time in my life when I got so up on drugs and alcohol that I did not give a about anything or anybody, including my family. And I just saw an opportunity to go to TNA, and I saw Vince Russo was working there, and he pitched this character to me. And we made this character because I knew he was going to be hands-on with the promos of the Black Rain character, this deep, dark character that Black Rain was. And I was already in a dark place, so it fit. And it was close to my home because they only shot like once a month. And, I went in and I did it, and I had this rat, and I was just a kick-ass, dark, demented heel. But I never want to do it again, because it is such a bad time in my life that I'm glad that is behind me, and then I got clean and sober. Because looking at it now, 11 years later, it's like there's no way I would have ever done that if I would have just kept my head. Black Rain is
Dustin would move around from the WWE to TNA and back to the WWE, but most often not to do anything significant and more as light comedic relief.
Goldie and I, we would come to work and we wouldn't have nothing to do but a skit. And we would be in the locker room, and this went on for weeks. We didn't have to wrestle at all. And we would be like, man, we're stealing money. They're paying us to do this. Are you kidding me? We don't have to work this week. So you got to know when to put it in, like, cruise control, when to, just kick back and, relax, and know this business works in circles. It's not always going to be your time.
Dustin would have one final run in the WWE between 2013 and 2019 that was a bit more dignified and memorable, but would still be ultimately unsatisfying.
A lot of people hate their jobs, and a lot of people love their jobs, and I love I love pro wrestling. Pro wrestling is my first love. And for the past 4 years, with WWE, I kind of lost my passion because, let's face it, you're sitting in the back, you're not doing anything, and it's just really hard. It's frustrating when you have so much to give, but time is running out because you're getting older. And it sucks when you're not being picked and you're pitching these ideas to the writers and the creative and to Vince and to whoever else will listen, but nothing happens. And it's like, oh, we'll just put you in a backstage segment standing in the hall while Goldberg makes his fucking entrance. You know, okay, thanks, I appreciate that, but no thanks. I'd rather be doing something with substance on the show, in a storyline. And whether I deserved it or not, I don't know, but that's what I wanted. That's what I desired. That's where my passion was. And I lost that along the way. And I wanted out. It was hard to get out. It's like if anybody has seen the movie Papillon, it's like prison. It really is. It's one of the prisons that they take good care of you in, but I needed to go kind of do something else, man, because I'd been there for so long, and they had taken good care of me, but I needed to get out. I needed to get out and breathe and try to find my passion again. There's other things I want to do in life, you know, before it just ends, you know, because you never know. We take every day for granted, you know, tomorrow might not ever happen. There's acting I want to do. There's other things. There's teaching, opening a wrestling school. There's all kinds of things that I have in my mind that I'm just creating constantly every single day. And to actually get out and to say, this is my last day with the company, and for it to be done to where I could actually speak about it was a breath of fresh air. And this fell in my lap, AEW, with my brother, because let me tell you something, man. It's when you push for something so hard for so long, and they look you dead in the eye and they tell you that is not good enough to be on the big show. It fucking pissed me off. It pissed me off. It pissed me off because I knew in my heart of hearts they were wrong. They were wrong. And I proved that last night when finally, after years and years of wanting it, you get that opportunity, and I found my passion again.
If you haven't seen this match, you should probably track it down and watch it. But make sure you're ready for a very emotional experience. I waited a few years after hearing about it before I watched it, and I'm actually glad that I did. The match hits harder the more you know about the struggles of the Rhodes family, and by the time I had finally watched it, I knew just about everything about them. And if you watch it through that lens, it's so much more than just another wrestling match. It may very well be one of the greatest in-ring performances of all time. And it's one of the reasons why I'll insist that the creation of All Elite Wrestling is undeniably a good thing, if nothing more than it exists as a platform to give us moments like this.
I've explained it before, and it's very special, very emotional, very heart-driven. You stand there, and I just look at Cody across the ring, and I point up to the sky, right? And they just started the Dusty chants, just like crazy loud. And it was just like electric, and it was so focused. And I tell the fans this, you know, I can see the fans, but I can't really see them, right? I can hear them, but I can't hear them because we were so focused on each other and what needed to be done at that time to really shotgun this company, AEW, just into existence. And it was amazing. I mean, we could have missed a bunch of stuff and it wouldn't have mattered. The story was there, you know, 2 promos, set it up, brother versus brother. It worked, you know, and we were told years ago it just wasn't good enough to be on like the big card, right? The big show. And they were wrong. And we just went out there and absolutely slaughtered it. It was incredible. The stars aligned. It was perfect. I mean, couldn't have been more perfect.
It seems to me like AEW has been a breath of fresh air for Dustin.
And you have somebody like Tony, who is a huge wrestling fan. I mean, huge, who I'll sit in Gorilla, okay, and say, I'm not wrestling that night, I'm coaching, right? Right now, I've been coaching Swerve a lot in all of his matches in the last year. And I'll be really focused on watching the things and talking to the referee and giving the times and telling him to, oh, you forgot to do this or whatever, right? And Tony would go, hey, Dustin, do you remember in 1991, you were in Syracuse, New York, you were wrestling so-and-so, and you did this spot in this match? And I'm like, no, I don't, Tony. Let me concentrate on what's going on right here. We're on live television. I mean, he's got such a mind, and he remembers everything, and he loves my Dustin Rhodes. He's always loved him, and I'm one of his favorites. And it's pretty cool to be under him as, you know, the boss. And I've never had a boss like that, because Vince was completely different, very intimidating, and very just business all the time. And Tony's business, but he's also a very kind man. His doors are always open, and it's good, because I feel very comfortable conversing with him, pitching him ideas constantly, and just enjoying this. And from the beginning, it's been one last ride, and it's still going on, right? So it's like, it's doing something, man. It's got my passion still peaked.
For 5 decades, I have been through everything that you could ever possibly imagine. There's nothing you can do to me I haven't already been through. I'm not scared of you. I'm not scared of your 2 brain-dead ballsack goons. What is that on your chest? The 3 triangles. What does that stand for? It looks like Doritos to me, and I like Doritos, but I hate you. Listen up very, very carefully. You will not tarnish the Rhodes name. I am living proof, one of the last of my kind in this business.
For almost 6 decades, almost 37 years, you guys have not abandoned me. Thank you for accepting me and showing up and turning on your television set to watch me entertain. I appreciate and love you all.
What I find truly interesting about Dustin Rhodes is that he's never seemed to do it for personal glory. Although I think he said plenty of times that it would have been nice to achieve that, to have a world title. And it's a shame that it never really happened. I don't know if we're ever going to see it happen. He seems to be at a point in his career where he wants to put other talents over and help usher in a new generation of wrestling talent. And that's what he does in his matches now. And so when I see Dustin Rhodes with a new young star, I expect the match to be violent. I expect that match to put the young talent over. And that's what happened just recently on Dynamite against Jack Perry. And it's a repeat of what we saw happen before with Dustin Rhodes and Swerve Strickland. And now we find out that this is because Dustin was coaching Swerve, that they struck up this relationship and they had this match, which was an extension of the coaching. And you can see what kind of benefits it had for Swerve. Swerve is at the absolute top of his game. So if Dustin can provide that level of coaching to the roster of AEW, I think it's truly an asset to have him around and backstage. And I can only assume the same thing is going to happen here with Jack Perry, and maybe that's why this match is the way it is. Now, I expected this match to be violent. I did not expect this match to be the lowest rated match of the night, and I find these reviews to be clueless. Guys, I get called a mark a lot. Like, as soon as I started doing this wrestling thing, talking about wrestling, especially on Instagram, I get personal attacks constantly. And look, I don't mind being called a mark, but it's really funny to me that so many people who will throw around that term seem to be willing to absolutely be worked by wrestling and assume that if Dustin is losing in the ring or not looking as good as he could, that he's being buried or being treated poorly by Tony Khan, and totally disregarding the fact that in AEW, the wrestlers really have a lot of creative input into what they're doing, and most likely this was all Dustin's idea. Like, this is a collaboration. that's going on in AEW. And Dustin putting over Swerve, Dustin putting over Jack Perry. This is probably exactly what Dustin wants to do. I really enjoyed this match. I thought it was fantastic. I would not rate it lowly. The only weird spot about this match is Jack Perry digging around in his boot. Jack Perry's digging around his boot trying to find something. I have no idea what the hell he had in there. What's going on? It's never explained. It's going to haunt me forever. Seriously, what the fuck is in Jack Perry's boot? The positive reviews get what's happening here. So I really appreciate these guys. They know what's up. This is Jack's first match back in AEW in singles. Like, if we're going to have this guy be credible at all, he needs to kick the shit out of somebody, and that's what he does here. But to keep the focus on Dustin, because after all, this is a video about Dustin Rhodes, the only other thing I really want to mention about modern day Dustin Rhodes, about what's happening right now, is that Dustin is over as fuck. Like, the audience loves Dustin. Every time he comes out and does one of these matches where he buries himself. Can we just say he buries himself against younger talent? Puts them over. That's a nicer way to say it, right? When Dustin puts over this young talent that he wants to work with. I don't think anybody forced Dustin to go out and take a match with Jack Perry. I think he's doing this of his own accord, and he wants to do it because he believes in the roster of AEW. And I think it's great to see. And I love that the crowd is so into him. And I think that sometimes people take it a little too far. And you know, they get worked. They think that Dustin is going to go for the AEW championship. I see it all the time, and it's great that he's had that kind of legacy and that people still feel that way about him. I think that speaks volumes to his history of work and the characters that he's done over the years, and what a great talent that people are still pushing for this guy when he's clearly, like, you know, this is his victory lap. I don't know how many years he's got left in the ring, but I'm just happy to see him every time he comes out. I'm glad he's doing what he wants to do. And I'm glad I'm doing what I want to do as well, which is make these great videos on this channel. So I hope you really enjoyed this video on Dustin Rhodes. If you want to help support this, if you want to see more of this kind of content, the best thing you can do is watch another video on the channel. That helps show YouTube that you like this kind of content and want to see more of it in your feed. You can also subscribe. That's free. If you want to support us on Patreon, I want to encourage that for just $1 a month. It really helps because, believe it or not, even though the view count is going up on the channel, the revenue really isn't increasing. YouTube pays a lot less than it used to, so if I ever want to do this full time, if you want even more videos to come out of this channel, the best way to really support that is with the Patreon. Like I said, it's just $1 a month. And as that Patreon grows, I intend to do some really cool stuff over there. Definitely got a lot of stuff in mind to do for that. I'll be talking about it in the coming weeks and months as we move forward on the channel. So I hope you really like this video. And grave diggers, keep digging.
He is I and I am him, and I'm the undisputed trend, Matt Taven. And this dork behind the camera, some Melvin told me to say, grave diggers keep on digging. Whatever that means.
I am AEW wrestler and Ring of Honor tag champ, Mike Bennett. And remember, grave diggers keep digging, but not the monster truck. Even though my son really likes that monster truck, I kind of like Son of a Digger, and so I'm going off on a tangent about monster trucks because my son really loves monster truck, but we're talking about the YouTube channel, so make sure, grave diggers, keep on digging, baby.
So this Mark doing one half private party, saying what up to the grave diggers, and you doing your thing, bro.
Alright, like, subscribe, and watch another video, or be cursed. If you're cursed, that means the grave diggers will keep digging your graves, so you probably want to do it.